Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. This is a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. It's the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination perspective will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 26th of August. The first news that I'll be discussing is the National Labour Conference of the Labour's Minister, which includes the Minister of States, the Minister from the state government and the Union territories. Second is the Supreme Court to review the PMLA orders in two important aspects. Third, India-Bangladesh to discuss the water sharing treaties. Some of the treaties like Teesta water sharing has been long pending between India and Bangladesh. Fourth, aircraft carrier Vikrant to be commissioned in September. And the last is an editorial, the wrong kind of cleanup. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I start, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful for your examination, do not forget to press a like button. So starting the session with the first news, that is the National Labour Conference of the Labour's Minister, something relevant for General Studies Paper 2 under the topic Government Policies and Intervention for the Development of Various Sectors and Issues Arising from it, Design and Implementations. So recently, while addressing the National Labour Conference of the Labour's Minister, both from the state government or from the union territories, the Prime Minister has said that Indian labour force has a huge role to play in realizing the dreams and aspiration of India, or called the developed India. Even the Prime Minister during the Independence Day speech recently on 15th of August has called for a developed country which we can achieve by 2047, right? तो ये Prime Minister ने कहा है, 5 प्राण की बात की थी. So this can be achieved by 2047, right? Now, just to tell you about this conference is being held in Tirupati, right? The venue might again be important for many competitive examination. Tirupati में held हो रही है, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh, right? And this is something very important, a conference that will formulate a policies with regards to the social security for the organized and unorganized workers. So the Prime Minister has said that the government is now changing the reforming and simplifying the labor laws, जहाँ पे 29 labor laws को 4 labor code में government ने convert किया है to make labor laws more simple, and this is something which will help India in a longer run. This is what the Prime Minister has said. This is the picture for the physical image which was there, like this is from the Tirupati, the minister is there, and the Prime Minister has made basically an online video conferencing. He has addressed the meeting. Now 4 thematic sessions रखी गई थी इसमें. So the National Labour Conference for the Labour's Minister of all the states and the union territories has focuses upon 4 thematic sessions. ये कौन-कौन से 4 thematic session है? We'll see one by one. The first thematic session is integrating the e-Shram portal on the onboarding social security scheme to universalize the social protection. E-Shram के बारे में आप में से बहुत लोगों को पता होगा. E-Shram is a very important portal that was launched by the Ministry of Labour, and it has helped for the social security enrollments and the benefits that can be availed through. Now, Swachhta Se Samriddhi for improving the medical care for the through ESI hospital. In many important cities, tier 2 cities, there are ESI hospital, which is run by the state government for integrating the PMJY. Now, framing the rules for the labor code, 4 labor codes and modalities for their implementation. Still, the implementation is pending because of the protest that is coming out for the खास करके जो मिनिस्ट्रीज हैं उन्होंने अपनी तरफ से तो कंफर्म कर दिए, बट जो प्रोटेस्ट है वो अभी भी यूनियन की तरफ से आ रही है. तो लेबर्स यूनियन है, द यूनियन आर बेसिकली प्रोटेस्टिंग. हर लेबर यूनियन ने उन्होंने प्रोटेस्ट किया एंड दे आर नॉट विलिंग टू इम्प्लीमेंट दिस कोड, राइट? सो दे आर द ग्रीवांसेस ऑफ द लेबर यूनियंस ऑल्सो. फैक्ट्री के यूनियन से लेबर यूनियंस हैं, उन्होंने इसको लेकर के प्रोटेस्ट किया. नाउ विजन सर्व में जयते, that is for 2047, which I was talking about the initially. So this focuses just for the equitable conditions for the work, सोशल प्रोटेक्शन फॉर ऑल वर्कर्स इंक्लूडिंग द गिग वर्कर और प्लेटफॉर्म वर्कर्स. ऐसे वर्कर्स जो मेन स्ट्रीम में काम नहीं करते कंपनीज के साथ, दे आर एसोसिएटेड ऑन अ फ्रीलांस बेसिस, दीज पीपल आर कॉल्ड गिग और प्लेटफॉर्म वर्कर्स. एंड जेंडर इक्वालिटीज के लिए भी हमें ध्यान देने की जरूरत है, जहाँ पे इक्वल लेबर पार्टिसिपेशन हो, both for the male as well as for the female, right? This is what the focus is on the thematic sessions. Now, there's a vision for 2047. The Prime Minister noted that the Labour Ministry is preparing a vision for 2047, और इस विजन में फ्यूचर नीड्स के बारे में ध्यान दी जाएगी. फ्यूचर नीड्स कैसी होनी चाहिए इंडिया की? दिस कॉल्ड फॉर फ्लेक्सिबल वर्क स्पेस, वर्क फ्रॉम होम, ecosystem and flexible work hour, because this was evident, a practical was seen in India during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns. तो लॉकडाउन के टाइम में हमने फ्लेक्सिबल वर्क स्पेस भी देखा, वर्क फ्रॉम होम की जो इकोसिस्टम है वो भी इंडिया को एक ऑन हैंड एक्सपीरियंस मिली है. उसके अलावा जो फ्लेक्सिबल वर्क आवर हैं उसके बारे में भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें पता चली. सो दिस कैन बी अ फ्यूचर ट्रेंड दैट कैन कंटिन्यू, एंड दीज आर सम ऑफ द विजन्स दैट the ministry is incorporating, will definitely incorporate in a due course of time. Now, social security measures की अगर बात करें, गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से ऐसी कौन कौन सी सोशल सिक्योरिटी मेजर्स हैं जो कि अभी at the currently they are on the implementation process. So the Prime Minister noted that the central government has launched several social security schemes, right, to benefit the citizen, which include Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi मान-धन योजना. जितने भी स्कीम्स हैं ये आपके प्रीलिम्स के लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, राइट? तो आप इस तरह के जो स्कीम्स हैं उनके बारे में डिटेल्स, खास करके जो एम है, जो टारगेट है, वो ज़रूर पढ़ें. प्रधानमंत्री सुरक्षा बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस द गवर्नमेंट हैज़ कम अप विद द इमरजेंसी क्रेडिट लाइन गारंटी सिस्टम which protected 1.5 crore people during the pandemic. So in interest, at a low interest, at a low cost, the people were provided with the emergency credit line so that they can sustain their livelihood. Now, role of EPFO is going to be very important, and EPFO is an organization which is going to be a numero organization in our country. The Prime Minister said that the Employment Provident Fund Organization, or EPFO, has played a very crucial role in providing the financial security for the labor force in country. EPFO की अगर बात करें, रिक्रूटमेंट भी EPFO में UPSC के थ्रू की जाती है for the Group B services and for many other posts like APFCs. So ये एक ऐसी इंपॉर्टेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं जिन्होंने सोशल सिक्योरिटी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट्स पे बताई, राइट? सो दिस इज व्हाट द प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैज कैटेगोरिकली नोटेड अबाउट the role of the EPFO, and he said that the incentive like e-Shram portal is another example of how India is working towards strengthening the unorganized sectors. Now, those working in such field are as a construction or now getting the benefits from the government scheme. तो जो काम EPFO ने की है e-Shram portal के थ्रू और अपने इनिशिएटिव्स के थ्रू, उसकी प्रैक्टिकल जो है ग्राउंड रियलिटी में काफ़ी ज़्यादा बेनिफिट्स देखे गए हैं सिटीजन्स को. Now, future roadmap क्या होनी चाहिए with the ministries and with the labor force? So, according to the Prime Minister Office, the conference has been convened with the spirit of cooperative federalism, a cooperation between the state, central government, and the union territories, which discuss the labor-related issues. Now, it will further synergy amongst the center and the state government to formulate a better policies, जहाँ की इफेक्टिव इम्प्लीमेंटेशंस हो सारे स्कीम्स को लेकर के, जो कि वेलफेयर ऑफ वर्कर्स को प्रमोट करे, एंड अ कोऑर्डिनेशन बिटवीन द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एंड द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट इज एसेंशियली रिक्वायर्ड. Now, the Prime Minister said that various schemes aimed at uplifting those working in organized and unorganized work sectors will be definitely strengthened in the labor force in country. तो ऐसा नहीं है सिर्फ ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर्स, गवर्नमेंट की जो कोशिश है वो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड और अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड दोनों सेक्टर्स पे ध्यान देने की है, सोशल सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइड करने की है, सो दैट दीज पीपल आर ऑल्सो गिवन द एडिक्वेट सोशल सिक्योरिटी नेट फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट एंड. Now, the other news, that is Supreme Court to review the PMLA orders on two important aspects, something relevant for General Studies Paper 2, that is the structure, organization and function of executive and judiciary. So the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a plea seeking the review of the verdict that has upheld the Enforcement Directorate powers on the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. I have discussed the news in detail. If you have not watched it, do check it out. तो मैं जिस्ट में आपको बता दूं, बेसिकली पीएमएलए को लेकर के सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो बातें कही थी, इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट की पावर्स को लेकर कहा था कि जो पावर्स हैं इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट को पीएमएलए के अंदर सर्च और सीजर्स करने की, वो बिल्कुल सही है और वो पावर वो डिराइव करती हैं. दे हैव द लेजिटिमेट राइट टू सर्च एंड टेक ऑल एक्शन दैट इज एसेंशियली रिक्वायर्ड. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ईडी के पावर्स को अपहोल्ड किया. Now, the apex court has noted that two important aspects need to be there. Review करने की जरूरत है दो बातों की. वो पहली है that not providing an enforcement case information report, जो ECIR. This is different from FIR, right? And the reversal of the presumption of innocence, that is the prima facie, needs a consideration. This is what the Supreme Court has noted in its observations. Now, Supreme Court की जो earlier judgment थी, where it has held that enforcement case information report, FIR की जगह जो enforcement direct FIR lodge करती है, उसे ESIR कहते हैं, right? And that cannot be equated with the first information report. And ECIR is an internal document of enforcement directorate, and ED officers are not a police officers, right? So this is an important point. Specifically, अगर आप mains examination में लिखें, तो इस तरह के observations आप वहाँ पे note कर सकते हैं. Now, notice to central government. Basically, the Supreme Court has asked the central government to look into the matter, and the Supreme Court issues a notice to the central government on a plea seeking the re-examinations of its verdict, which upheld the ED power to arrest, attachment of the property involved in a money laundering, search, seizures under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ईडी के पावर को बेसिकली अपहोल्ड किया था और ये कहा था कि ये जो पावर्स हैं बिल्कुल जायज है. Now the Supreme Court bench has said that the objective of the act is noble, and even the offenses like money laundering is definitely a serious offense. It can definitely lead to the promotion of terrorism in our country also. Now background अगर देखें ये चीज़ें कहाँ से शुरुआत हुई है, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो जजमेंट थी in July 2022, the verdict was that it has upheld the power related to arrests, attachment of property on the money laundering cases. And in the recent verdict, the applications for the provisions of Benami Transaction Act 2016, Supreme Court ने observe किया अपने judgment में कि जो enforcement directorate की power है to take the possessions, property before the trial exceptions have the leave scope for the arbitrary applications. And court has noted जो section 45 है Prevention of Money Laundering Act की, that deals with the offense to be a cognizable and non-bailable offense, right? तो इसमें dual conditions of bail mandatory होती है. एक तो ये cognizable offense है और उसमें bail भी नहीं मिलती है. Now this is the reason that does not suffer the voice for arbitration or unreasonableness. तो ये कुछ backgrounds हैं जो आपको समझने की जरूरत है. And this is how it become important for your mains also. जो पूरी PMLA पे debate है, इस पे आप mains पे question expect कर सकते हैं. This is going to be significant for the mains examination, right? Now, moving to the other news, that is India, Bangladesh to discuss the water sharing treaty, something relevant for general studies paper 2, that is India and its neighborhood relations. So recently, India and Bangladesh have finalized MOU, that is stand for Memorandum of Understanding, on an interim water sharing, that is from the Kushiara River, right? So this was the 38th Ministerial Joint River Commission meeting, which took place in New Delhi, and two countries have discussed the issues of water sharing on the various rivers, which include Teesta River and Ganga River. तो जितने भी rivers हैं उनके map point of view से आप जरूर देख लें. This is going to be important for the prelims examination as such. Now the meeting held after a gap of 12 years. This is a long time. 12 साल के बाद ये meeting हुई, and the last meeting was held in 2010. So this should not be the longer stretch. Definitely governments should meet even for 3 years or 5 years, but the stretch has taken to 12 years. तो बहुत टाइम से पेंडिंग है, बहुत सारी ऐसी इश्यूज है जो इंडिया और बांग्लादेश के रिवर शेयरिंग में काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम्स भी करें. Now both side has welcomed the finalization of the design for the localizations of the water point, जहाँ पे फेनी रिवर्स की अगर बात करें, that to meet the drinking needs for the Shobrum town in Tripura. In October 2019, India and Bangladesh have signed the MOU in this subject. And India and Bangladesh share almost 54 rivers. This number is factually important for your prelims and mains examination. इस तरह के facts सब जरूर ध्यान रखें. Which give 7 rivers has been identified for developing the framework sharing through the priority. तो गवर्नमेंट ने कहा है कि इन 44 में बेसिकली जो 7 rivers है वो अभी प्रायोरिटी ऑर्डर्स पे है और गवर्नमेंट उन पे काम करेगी. Now, during the meeting, it was also agreed to widen the area of ongoing cooperations between 8 other rivers that both India and Bangladesh is looking forward, right? And the matter was further discussed with the technical level committees of the Joint River Commission that was formulated both by India and Bangladesh. We'll see the detail about the JRC also. तो JRC की अगर बात करें Joint River Commission की, Joint River Commission of India was constituted in way back in 1972. एक bilateral mechanism के through इसे establish की गई थी, which called for looking into the mutual interest, common borders area and transboundary rivers के बारे में. One of the most important area for the cooperation was when India has been assisting Bangladesh in the sharing of the river, right? During the flood data. India flood data share करती है बांग्लादेश के साथ. And India has recently extended the period of flood sharing data beyond 15 October 2022 and Bangladesh addressed the unfold flood event. तो बहुत हद तक बांग्लादेश को इससे मदद मिलती है. एक बिफोर हैंड फोरकास्ट की जाती है इंडिया की तरफ से. Now, Teesta Water Sharing Treaty is again something has been long pending. So Bangladesh has requested the conclusions of the long pending Teesta Water Sharing at the early date, possibly when basically two countries are looking forward to come a resolution for it. And India has assured Bangladesh to proactively conclude the agreement with regard to the Teesta Water Sharing Treaty. बांग्लादेश की जो स्टेट मिनिस्टर है उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट किया इंडियन काउंटर पार्ट से, जो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ जल शक्ति के मिनिस्टर है मिस्टर गजेंद्र सिंह, उनसे रिक्वेस्ट किया दैट MOU द विड्रॉल बाय द बांग्लादेश and even the stretch for the Kuchiara rivers would be taken at the earliest date. And both sides agrees to conduct the feasibility study for optimum utilizations of the water that is received by the Bangladesh under the provisions of Ganga Water Sharing Treaty 1996. तो एक important topic है आपके मेंस एग्जामिनेशन के लिए. प्रीलिम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से जितने भी मैप्स हैं वो आप जरूर देखें. Artificial carrier Vikrant to be commissioned in September, something relevant for General Studies Paper 2. That is achievement of India in science and technology, Indigenization of technology and development of new technology. So the Prime Minister will commissionize Vikrant, India's first indigenous built aircraft, which will be commissionized on 2nd of September 2022. This is a great achievement and pride for our country that an indigenously developed aircraft carrier was built. Almost close to 75 or 76% of the construction was made in India itself. Now, with the commissions of Vikrant, India will enter into the select group of nations that can manufacture the carrier and displays over the 40,000 ton. So this is the image of INS, or you can say the aircraft carrier Vikrant. इंडिया की कैपेसिटी की अगर बात करें, द नेवी हैज स्ट्रेस दैट इंडिया हैज द कैपेसिटी एंड इकोसिस्टम टू बिल्ड एन इंडिजिनस एयरक्राफ्ट. नाउ वी आर ऑन द एफर्ट्स. दिस इज पॉसिबल दैट इंडिया कैन मूव अहेड विथ इट्स ओन इंडिजिनस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. दिस विल गिव इंडिया 3 एयरक्राफ्ट इन एडिशंस. इसके अलावे INS विक्रमादित्य और विक्रांत को कमीशन करने के बाद जो थर्ड है उसकी क्लियरेंस पेंडिंग है भी गवर्नमेंट के पास. वेरी सून द थर्ड विल ऑल्सो बी approved by the government and entire process will gradually start. Now, aircraft carrier Vikrant की अगर बारे में बात करें, this is going to be relevant for many other competitive examination and even for the prelims. So this was designed by the Navy Warship Design Bureau, which was built at Kochi shipyard and equipped with 32 MR SAM and displaced of 42,800 ton. Vikrant is consists with 32 medium range surface to air missile. MRSM की full form है medium stay range surface to air missile. Now it is loaded with AK-630 rotary cannons which are enclosed with the weapon system. Now it has a kavach, or you can say the protection of anti-missile naval decoy system, which can distract the laser guided missile from the targets. And even INS Vikrant can have a capacity to hold up to 30 aircraft and helicopters, and it has displacement of 42,800, right? And again it has अगर speed की बात करें 18 knots and the maximum speed of 28 knots is there, and the maximum range of 7,500 nautical miles. So these are some of the significant features that you can take a note of about the aircraft carrier Vikrant. Now ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में आपको स्टार्टिंग में बताया, ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडिजिनस है. ऑलमोस्ट 76% जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है वो इंडिया में इंडिजिनसली की गई, राइट? अर्लियर आई हैव टोल्ड 75, but the correct number is 76, right? So the Vikrant has involved over 100 MSME जो माइक्रो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेज उन्होंने काम किया, और इंडिजिनसली इसके जो इक्विपमेंट्स है वो मैन्युफैक्चर्स किए. 500 सब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स एंड एंसिलरी इंडस्ट्रीज वे पार्ट ऑफ दिस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. Steels from the ship jointly developed by the Steel Authority of India Limited और DRDO के डेवलपमेंट जो DRDO है, डिफेंस रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, उन्होंने मिलकर काम किया. The aircraft carrier is built using 76% of the indigenous manufacturing process. Now moving to the editorial of the day, that is the wrong kind of cleanup, something relevant for General Studies paper 2. That is government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from in design and implementations. So the theme of this editorial is about India's sports governance, and I'll be simplifying the editorial into 4 important topics. That is the autonomy of sports federations, the sports code, the Olympic charter, and the way forward. So in this editorial, the writer is trying to convey about the governance problem in Indian sports. So he writes that in most of the recent actions, the Indian sports has been in court instead of court. यहाँ पे कोर्ट का मतलब है कि जो डिस्प्यूट है वो कोर्ट में चल रही है, ना कि एक्चुअल कोर्ट जो स्पोर्ट्स की जो कोर्ट ग्राउंड होती है वहाँ पे ना होकर के, राइट? So the judicial push for the reform in the various sports bodies like football, hockey, table tennis, and Indian Olympic Association has understandably received the mixed reaction. There has been hope and optimism on one hand, और confusion जो है वो दूसरी तरफ है. इंडिया को फीफा से सस्पेंड भी कर दिया गया, और भी ऐसी अटकलें लगाई जा रही थी कि इंडियन ओलंपिक एसोसिएशन से भी अगर बेसिकली कुछ ऐसे एफर्ट्स लगाए गए तो वहाँ से भी सस्पेंशन हो सकती है. बट इंडिया हैव टेकन अ कॉशन. The battle is not new. The judiciary is not an ideal arbitrator in this regard when it's come to the sports governance standard. India के पास अपनी sports authority of India है, सही जिसको कहते हैं. But again, the grievances is not being adequately addressed in this side. तो आपसे basically मेंस में ये क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है कि साई के क्या क्या challenges हैं, किस तरह से साई incompetent साबित हुई है in terms of all this problem, right? Now, autonomy of sports federation, this is what has been pitched for. The autonomy of international and national sports federation is vital for the sports movement and sports governance. ये दोनों के लिए काफी important है, right? Now, the status enable the sports bodies to act independently through its own democratic structures, जहाँ पे free from government हो और external influence के बिना काम करे. So it should be more autonomous. It should be self-researching, and there should be work without any bias. Now, with this protection, the decision making might be subject to political and other considerations. तो हमें इससे हटके बनाने की ऐसी और ऑटोनॉमी देने की जरूरत है स्पोर्ट्स फेडरेशन को, जो इंडिपेंडेंट ऑटोनॉमिकली तरीके से काम कर पाए. Now, this has led to the various legal system bringing into the regulation and enforce the notion of good governance in sports. Now, the Indian version of National Sports Development Code, that is 2011, has found to be known as a Sports Code. तो 2011 में जो कोड रिलीज की गई थी उसको स्पोर्ट्स कोड के नाम से भी जाना गया. We'll see what is स्पोर्ट्स कोड. स्पोर्ट्स कोड की अगर बात करें, स्पोर्ट्स कोड assemble dozen of government notification that is issued a few decades and interrupting a provisions that is not tasked and fainted, right? तो इसके कंटेंट्स की अगर बात करें, it has recognized by the court as an administrative directives and binding of the federations. तो जो भी rules, regulations, code, framework बनाए गए हैं वो binding होंगे. It provides for the minimum standard that the sports body must comply to retain the sports ministry annual recognitions. उसके अलावा ओलंपिक चार्टर है. This Olympic Charter has a provisions for election of athlete representative as a member of National Olympic Committee on their board. So these are some of the top apex body that are looking into the Olympic part of India. And this involves the creation for the federation organized athlete membership bodies that include both active and recently retired athletes for right to vote and their representation into the membership and the federation post. Now it sets the minimum of 2 athletes as a member as one and executive committee members of the National Olympic Committee, but not an upper limit either. Right? This is the Olympic Charter. Now वे फॉरवर्ड की अगर बात करें फॉर राइटिंग अ कंक्लूजन इन मेंस पेपर स्पेसिफिकली, तो आप लिख सकते हैं कि इंडिया के जो स्पोर्ट्स गवर्नेंस है उसमें क्विक फिक्स करने की ज़रूरत है. किस तरह से ये फिक्स या फिर रेमेडीज लाई जा सकती है. वी नीड टू वर्क एट द बॉटम. एक बॉटम पिरामिड में अगर पिरामिड के स्ट्रक्चर पे देखें, वी नीड टू वर्क फ्रॉम बॉटम अप्रोच होने की ज़रूरत है टू रिकॉन्स्टिट्यूट द डिस्ट्रिक्ट स्टेट बॉडी एंड दैट फीड एट द नेशनल लेवल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. So from this national level, from the state level to national level, we need to revamp the functioning. And this focus can also look into the other important aspect, like the reform must retain the sports governors and administrator, both athlete and non-athletes. Now each district, states and national sports body must have their athlete commissions that could have representation such as body embedded in the decision making with the reasonable numbers. Now these sports have reached our constitutional courts after the government lapses at federation. तो फेडरेशन में जहाँ पे फेलोर देखी गई है उसके बाद सिर्फ कोर्ट की तरफ रुक करना ही एक ऑप्शन रह गया. एंड इवन टू जस्ट टू रिमाइंड यू, इस पूरे एडिटोरियल में फोकस की गई है कि कोर्ट इज नॉट द राइट प्लेटफॉर्म टू डिसाइड द आर्बिट्रेशन. ऑल्दो कोर्ट हैज वेस्टेड विद द पावर, बट इंडिया में इस तरह की ट्रेंड नहीं सेट होनी चाहिए कि कोई भी डिस्प्यूट हो तो वो कोर्ट पे जाए. Court is already overburdened. Supreme Court, even High Court, for any appellate court, that is already overburdened. So a well-constituted framework is required to look in the grievances for the sports problems, corruption, any malfunction that is being reported. And we need a single-handed body that is exclusively working for the sports governance in our country. Right? This is how you can conclude your way forward. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is A. For second question also the correct option is A. Today's MCQ for practice. आपको बताना है PM आत्मनिर्भर स्वस्थ भारत स्कीम के बारे में. Provide health care insurance to the people for the BPL categories or all categories. You have to check that. And it was announced in the union budget, right? Now, National Hydrogen Energy Mission, it will capitalize hydrogen for the cleaner alternative of the options, and it will focus on the generation from the green power sources. So do check it out for the correct options. And if you know the correct answer, it is well. If not, you can check out for the correct option, and even you can read out more about the National Hydrogen Energy Missions. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.